Welcome back to Apex Sci-Fi. We spend billions of dollars looking for signs of life. We build massive telescopes to listen for radio waves from distant stars. We are desperate to know that we are not alone. But there is a difference between finding a microbe on a rock and finding a welcome mat. Or worse, a keep out sign. Today's story is about the most lonely job in human history, the first solo mission to Mars. It was supposed to be a triumph of science. It turned into a ghost story. Because when you are 140 million miles from home, the silence is heavy. But finding a signal that shouldn't exist? That is crushing. If you have ever felt panic when your internet disconnects, imagine the panic of connecting to a network that has been waiting for you for a million years. Smash that like button if you want the signal to reach Earth. Subscribe and turn on notifications because the upload speed on Mars is deadly slow. Commander David Vance was the loneliest man in the universe. He stood on the surface of the Chryse Planitia, the golden plains of Mars. His boots were covered in red dust. His suit, the Mark 7 EVA, hummed softly, recycling his breath and scrubbing the carbon dioxide. Above him, the sky was a bruised shade of butterscotch and pink. The sun was too small, a shrunken coin in the vastness. "Houston," David said into his comms. "Touchdown confirmed. Solar arrays are deploying. The view is indescribable. It's dead, but it's beautiful." He waited. He checked his chronometer. Midnight, 0:01. He had to wait 22 minutes. That was the reality of Mars. Light took time to travel. His voice was currently racing through the vacuum at 186,000 miles per second, but it would still take 22 minutes to reach Mission Control in Texas. And then another 22 minutes for their reply to come back. 44 minutes of silence for every sentence spoken. A conversation in slow motion. David sighed. He was used to the delay. He had trained for it in the isolation chambers of Antarctica. "All right," he muttered to himself. "Let's get to work." Set up the comms relay. He pulled the specialized tablet from his thigh holster. It was a ruggedized, military-grade diagnostic tool designed to interface with the lander, the rover, and the orbiting satellites. He tapped the screen. The interface booted up. System diagnostic, green. Oxygen levels, 98%. Scanning for local networks. This was a standard automated protocol. The tablet was searching for the Ares link, the local mesh network created by the lander and the rover so they could talk to each other. David watched the spinning circle. Network found. David nodded. Good. Rover is online. He looked closer at the screen. He frowned. The network name wasn't Ares. The text on the screen, crisp and white against the black background, read, SID, visitor under. David blinked. He wiped his visor with his gloved hand, thinking it was a smudge. He looked again. SID, visitor under signal strength. 100%, 5 bars, security, open. David laughed. It was a dry, nervous sound. Okay. Very funny, guys. Real funny. He assumed it was an Easter egg. The software engineers back at NASA were famous for their pranks. Someone must have hard-coded a fake network into the OS to mess with him. "Houston," David said, forcing a chuckle. "I see the joke in the network settings. Visitor center. Aha. I'll be sure to stop by the gift shop. Over." He tapped the network name, expecting an error message or a funny pop-up image of an alien. The tablet froze for a second. Then, connecting, obtaining IP address, connected. David's smile vanished. Software pranks were visual. They didn't shake hands with the hardware. If the tablet said connected, it meant it had established a data link with a physical router transmitting a radio frequency. Diagnostic, David whispered. Trace signal source. The tablet displayed a compass. The arrow pointed north, towards the Noctis Labyrinthus, the labyrinth of the night. A system of deep, jagged canyons 5 kilometers away. David looked at the lander. The lander was south. The rover was west. There was nothing north. Just rocks, dust, and millions of years of erosion. Interference, David rationalized. It's a reflection. Maybe a glitch in the antenna array. He started walking north. Just a few steps to test the signal. He watched the bars. If he walked away from the source, the bars should drop. He took 10 steps. The signal remained at 100%. He took 50 steps. 100%. Okay, David breathed. His heart rate monitor spiked to 110. "Houston, I am investigating a signal anomaly. It's strong. I'm going to triangulate." He remembered the delay. Houston wouldn't hear about the joke for another 20 minutes. They wouldn't hear about the panic for 40. He was completely on his own. David pulled up a web browser on the tablet. It was ridiculous. There was no internet on Mars. The tablet was designed to view local cache schematics. But if he was connected to a network, what was hosting it? He typed in a standard address, 192.168.1.1, the default gateway for a router. The screen refreshed instantly. No lag. A page loaded. It wasn't a NASA page. It wasn't code. It was a simple black page with a single line of text in the center. The text was in English. Or rather, the tablet translated it into English because it recognized the mathematical syntax underlying the language. Welcome to Outpost 4. You are early. David stopped walking. He felt the cold of the Martian surface seep through his boots. Early, he whispered. A cursor blinked below the text. A chat box. David's trembling fingers typed on the touchscreen. Who is this? The response was instantaneous. System, automated keeper. Query, has the quarantine been lifted? David stared at the words. Quarantine? What quarantine? System, the biological containment of Sol 3. Species designation, Homo sapiens. Status, volatile/infectious. David felt a wave of nausea. Sol 3 was Earth. This is a hallucination, David said aloud. Nitrogen narcosis? No, the mix is correct. CO2 poisoning? He checked his suit gauges. Normal. He looked at the tablet again. Warning, unauthorized breach detected. You have left your designated habitat zone, Earth. Return immediately. David looked around the empty red desert. The wind kicked up dust devils in the distance. I'm not leaving, David typed, a sudden surge of human stubbornness taking over his fear. I came in peace. I am an explorer. Response, viruses always claim to be explorers. They seek new hosts. The signal strength bar on the tablet suddenly changed color. From white to red. Initiating sterilization protocol. Location triangulated. The ground beneath David's feet vibrated. It wasn't an earthquake. It was mechanical. About a kilometer to the north, near the canyon entrance, the dust began to shift. A section of the cliff face, which looked like solid rock, began to slide open. Blue light spilled out into the Martian afternoon. It wasn't the soft blue of LED screens. It was the harsh, blinding blue of Cherenkov radiation, the light of a nuclear reactor starting up. Houston. David screamed into his mic, forgetting the delay. Houston, I have activity. Massive structure emerging from the canyon. It's a weapon. It's tracking me. Of course, Houston heard nothing. In Texas, the flight director was currently drinking coffee, waiting for David's first touchdown-confirmed message to arrive in 10 minutes. David turned to run back to the lander. But the gravity on Mars is 38% of Earth's. You can run fast, but you lack traction. He slipped in the red dust, falling hard on his faceplate. He scrambled up, checking the tablet. The web page had changed. It was showing a countdown. Sterilization in 10, 9. Why? David typed frantically as he ran. Why are you doing this? Answer. You are the control group. The experiment is not finished. If you escape the petri dish, you contaminate the laboratory. We are not an experiment. David yelled at the sky. 5, 4. He reached the lander. He scrambled up the ladder. If he could get inside, maybe the shielding would protect him. 3. He sealed the airlock. The hiss of pressurization sounded like a gunshot. 2. He looked out the small porthole window facing north. The blue light from the canyon had condensed into a single, focused beam. It was pointing directly at the lander. 1. David closed his eyes. The tablet pinged one last time. Connection lost. But the explosion didn't come. David waited. He counted to 10. He opened his eyes. The blue light was gone. The canyon was closed. The desert was empty. He checked the tablet. SID not found. Scanning for networks. No networks found. A glitch? David whispered. He slumped against the airlock door, sweat pouring down his face. It was a simulation? A stress test. He laughed hysterically. Houston, disregard last message. I think I need a break. Then the radio crackled. It wasn't the 20-minute delay. It was a live instant signal. But it wasn't coming from Earth. The voice was synthesized. Perfect English. But the cadence was wrong. Testing. Testing. Is this frequency clear? David froze. Who is this? This is the keeper, the voice said, coming through his helmet speakers with crystal clarity. "We decided to spare you, Unit David." "Why?" David breathed. "Because," the voice replied, sounding almost amused. "We checked your browser history on the device." David blinked. "My browser history?" "Yes. The sum of human knowledge. The internet. We analyzed it while you were connected." There was a pause. "Cat videos, memes, arguments about flat planets, pornography." The keeper sighed, a digital, exasperated sound. "We determined that you are not a threat. You are not a virus. You are idiots." David sat there stunned. "We are lifting the quarantine," the keeper continued. "Not because you are ready, but because you are too entertaining to destroy. We have installed a router in your lander. The password is password 123. Welcome to the Galactic Network, human. Try not to break anything." David looked at his tablet. A new icon appeared. A globe. Connected, galactic speed, 100 terabits/. David sat alone in his tin can millions of miles from home. He had discovered alien life. He had almost been incinerated. And now, he had the fastest Wi-Fi in the solar system. He opened the browser. He hesitated. Then he typed, "How to explain to NASA that aliens think we are stupid." He hit enter. 0.0001 seconds later, he got 5 billion results. The first one was from a user named Zyler_the_wise from the Andromeda Galaxy. The comment read, "First time?" David started to laugh. And he couldn't stop. This has been Apex Sci-Fi. We spend so much time wondering if aliens are hostile or peaceful. We never considered the possibility that they might just be the IT support for the universe. If you would risk planetary annihilation for a decent Wi-Fi connection, smash that like button. Comment below. What is the first thing you would Google on the alien internet? Subscribe. But remember to use a VPN. The keepers are watching. Transmission ended.